I think he's doing the right thing. You've got this explosion of diabetes in America among young people. For the first time, type 2 diabetes showing up in 9-year-olds and among the baby boomers who are retiring. And together, these things are going to bankrupt us. It's a terrible human tragedy. So if you get rid of these giant full sugar drinks and make people have smaller portions, it will help. I know a lot of people think, well, this is a nanny state and he's interfering, but these are very serious problems.
Brawlers, a Detroit and barbecue ribs, you get the treat of the week.
It is the Savage Nation. Bill Clinton discusses little brother in New York City, little brother Michael Bloomberg, who wants to tell you how much soda to drink and not to drink. And, of course, Bill Clinton, being a good New World Order liberal, agrees that little brother should have the right to tell you what to eat, drink, sleep, and say. The only question is, will little brother ban big bimbos for entering Manhattan? That's the only question. Little brother's going to ban big sodas, but will he ban big bimbos from showing up in hotels late at night where the elite meet to eat? 1-800-449-8255 is the phone number. We open with a joke today. I hope you enjoyed it. If not, you're a very sad person. If you didn't laugh at any of that, you're hopeless, as a matter of fact. It is Open Mic to Mike Friday. The phone number again is 1-800-449-8255. I invite you to call. I can't guarantee that you'll get on, but if you do, you'll reach more people than you've ever spoken to for your entire life. Secondly, no one listens to you anyway. Even if you speak in America today, no one hears you. You've got to understand, no one listens to you unless you're a member of the Bilderberg group. If you're a member of the Bilderberg group, when you speak, people listen. And then they act upon your desires. So we're going to talk a little bit about the secretive Bilderberg group, what it means. Ooh, Bilderberg sounds so conspiratorial. A lot of right-wing nuts, Bilderberg. Ooh, well, first of all, it sounds Jewish. That's right away that feeds their fervor. Jewish and banker. When you say Bilderberg, you think fat Jewish banker from like a poster from the Nazi era. So that's why a lot of the right-wing racists hate the Bilderberg group. That's number one. So I actually did an analysis of it, and I'm going to ask you something. Do you know what the Bilderberg group is? Do you know what they do? Do you know who's in it? Why do you fear the Bilderberg group? What are they doing that frightens you? I'm going to give you a list of who they are, what their background is in a minute. But, after you listen to the protesters and their screams, I'll tell you the truth, they can make you back the Bilderbergs. Who would you rather have running the world, the Bilderberg group or the communists in the gutter who would take away everything you've worked for all your life? I mean, just ask yourself the question. Just ask yourself the question. Now, don't get me wrong. I wasn't invited, nor would I ever be. The only member of the media ever invited to talk to the Bilderberg group is this faker, Charlie Rose. As you know, Charlie Rose is nothing but a mouthpiece for the power elite. He has no ratings and no audience. He talks to them, for them. I was shocked to see that Peggy Noonan was invited, although I'm not shocked because I've always felt she was a knee-jerk Republican. As brilliant as she is an old-line, checked-skirt Republican, so, and she's with the Wall Street Journal, but why would they invite her? Along with Peggy Noonan, I see the following names who may in some ways trigger something in your brain. Like, for example, Faoud Ajami, senior fellow at the Hoover Institution. I noticed there's several people from the Hoover Institution, which explains why I've never been invited to the Hoover Institution. Even though it's in my own backyard, even though it's allegedly a conservative think tank, I've never trusted them. I've always felt it was basically a tool of the two-party Monty. That's all. Keith B. Alexander, Commander, U.S. Cyber Command, Director, National Security Agency. I'm going to read only a few of the names. Kenneth Clark, Member of Parliament. Never heard of him. Mitchell Daniels, Governor of Indiana. Who's that? Goldman Sachs. Ooh, when you hear Goldman and Sachs, that's bad, right? Knee-jerk. Ooh, bad. They're bad. Do you ever think maybe Goldman Sachs invested in things that permitted businesses to grow? I mean, which way do you want it? What country do you want to live in? Will you trade a bushel of corn for someone to do your laundry? I mean, where do you want to go here? You're living in a capitalist nation. Who do you think's going to be meeting to talk about how to run the world but capitalists? It doesn't mean everything they do I agree with, but for God's sakes, I mean, get off your stupidity, for God's sake. Bilderberg, Goldman Sachs, the standard anti-Semitic nonsense. That's all it is. Britt Harris, Teacher Retirement System of Texas. John M. Huntsman, Chairman Huntsman Cancer Foundation. Vernon Jordan, remember him? Vernon Jordan, the good friend of Bill Clinton, Senior Managing Director of Lazard. Gary Kasparov, Chairman of United Civil Front of Russia. John Ketchup Kerry, Senator from Massachusetts. And, of course, you know he's going to be there. Henry Kissinger, lobbyist for China. And the head of Kissinger and Associates, Henry Kissinger, to see what he can get for his bosses at the meeting. Henry R. Kravis, co-chairman and CEO of KKR, Kohlberg Kravis Roberts. I wouldn't call them venture capitalists. I would call them vulture capitalists in my analysis. Kenneth B. Mellman, partner, Kohlberg Kravis Roberts and Company. Kenneth Mellman? Kenneth Mellman? Wasn't he Republican hack here in California for a long while before they took him in and gave him a living? Peggy Noonan, author, columnist, The Wall Street Journal. Peter R. Orzog, vice chairman, Citigroup. Dimitri Papalexopoulos. I can never do Greek. Dimitri Papalexopoulos, Titan Cement Company. It's almost starting to seem like that scene in The Godfather. And now he's the chairman of United Sugar. Richard N. Pearl, neocon, famous neocon faker. He's the one who had us bombing Iran for many years. No one knows why. Stephen Ratner, former car czar. Stephen Ratner, now he's chairman of Willett Advisors, LLC. Charles Rose, anchor of the Charlie Rose Show that no one watches. Robert Rubin, chairman of the Council on Foreign Relations, former Secretary of the Treasury, the man who destroyed our economy initially, in my estimation. Eric E. Schmidt, executive chairman of Google. Peter D. Sutherland, chairman Goldman Sachs. Peter Thiel, Thiel Capital. And Kevin Warsh, the Hoover Institution. Finally, and last but not least, Robert B. Zoellick, president of the World Bank. So let's go back. We could talk about soda, New World Order, Bilderbergs. I have a 16-cylinder mine, and I'm running on about 14 and a half cylinders. Do you mind if I have a good time in the next 3 weeks, which are going to be the best shows I've ever done in my life? Do you mind? Do you mind that little brother is telling you how much soda you can drink? I mean, common sense says, listen to what he said. He's not banning soda, little brother. He's making you buy it in 2 16-ounce Slurpees, for example. Now, what sense does that make? All it does is put more money in the pocket of the vendor. That's all he's doing. Remember, he said, I'm doing this in the venues I control, meaning grocery stores and like ballparks. So who's going to win on this? The guy who's addicted to soda is going to have to buy 2 of them now instead of 1. And Bloomberg knows this. Bloomberg's a rich man, so you think he got rich by being stupid? He got rich by banning people and forcing them into doing things they didn't want to do. So let's say you're at a ball game and you're not a rich person. So you buy a 32-ounce soda and you split it with a friend and you save $1.50 or $2. But go tell that to the Bilderbergs like Bill Clinton. I'll be right back. Savage. Let me say the word Bilderberg a few times so the nuts can tune in. Bilderberg Group. Goldman Sachs, Bilderberg, Joe and Paula Farraginig and Bilderberg, Goldman Sachs, Bilderberg, Goldman Sachs. Who would you rather have running the country, the Occupy movement? And you trade a bushel of corn for a bushel of Kleenex? You idiots, you. Believe me, they have to be controlled, and they shouldn't be a secretive government. I'd like to know what they're talking about. Frankly, I think the Bilderberg Group should be televised so we can hear what they're saying. But they're entitled to meet. It's a private group. If the Congressional Black Caucus can meet in private, why can't the Bilderberg Group meet in caucus? Huh? You know what I'm saying? 1-800-449-8255, michaelsavage.com. Let's take some callers. New York City, WOR. Pete, go ahead. You're on the Savage Nation.
It's always a pleasure to speak to you, Dr. Savage. I want to respectfully disagree about the sugar yesterday. Although Mayor Michael Bloomberg, who bought the election and unfortunately, we might have ended up with a Dinkins or a Lindsay, and instead of him. But he's no great eggs. But what am I going to do? There's like 8 packs of sugar in a can of soda. I mean,
listen, Pete, you're speaking to a man who wrote books about health for 20 years. I don't use sugar. I have purged it from my life as best I can. However, there's a big difference between teaching people what is good for them to eat and controlling what they eat through legislation. And it's called food fascism once you have a government telling you what you can and cannot eat.
Right. He should have done what the governor wanted to do, put the tax on the sugar. The other thing
No, you're wrong. No tax on sugar. No, no tax on sugar. Why doesn't he tax medical marijuana? Well, why are you laughing? Why do these liberal Goonie birds tell people to avoid sugar, fat, salt, but it's okay to use drugs? Why do they encourage them to use drugs?
No, you're right. You're right.
Well, of course I'm right. There's a conspiracy to have the population totally controlled by Little Brother. Little Brother, Bloomberg. Of course there's rationale behind it, or we wouldn't even be talking about it. But remember what happens when you stop someone from buying a 32-ounce Slurpee. They have to buy 2 of them. They'll buy 2 of them. Why? Because it costs more, and the ballpark makes more. End of story.
Savage.